Yo, welcome back to another trade recap. Now it's been a minute. It has been a minute. I've been kind of going for a little bit with trading and things like that recently, so I took a step back, took a little break, but we're back. We're back. So basically, I've now fully switched away from forex to futures. Okay, the reasons behind it is one, at the minute, forex market conditions are shit, and I'm just not asked for it. If I'm being honest, I've done pretty well on forex over the past 2-3 months. But I just prefer futures. I find futures more fun. Like, it's kind of got me thinking about trading again a little bit more. Whereas with forex, I was a little bit complacent. I was a bit bored of it. But also, futures cheaper. You only trade one session. You're only there at your computer for a little bit. Um, just works a little bit better with my life. It's just better, more scalable. All these things, right? With forex, I was kind of just bored of it. So I've taken a little break from Forex. It doesn't mean I will never come back to Forex. Probably will at some point. But for now, we are mainly focusing on futures. We have passed the 50k while I've been away. With Apex, we did pass a Lucid as well last week. We did blow that as well because I was just being a fucking idiot. But this was the trade today. Fresh Lucid eval. We're literally halfway there to the profit target. So hopefully we can close this off and pass this by the end of the week, and that'll be pretty good. Then we'll be in a good spot again. But so that's kind of where we're at now. The videos are going to continue. They're going to start coming back. I'm ready to start posting again. Like I said, I just need a little bit of a break from everything, from social media as well, with trading, and just come back a little bit more with a clear mind and get back on it. Now, this was the trade of the day. I don't have my executions on because my trade of it isn't logging in. It keeps saying connection failed, so I might have to hit the support up about that. But this was the trade. I did take like another trade. What was it? It was here. And it was like something like this. It was very, very, very small. Just because I closed this trade, I got slipped, not slipped, but I closed it slightly too early for the consistency. So I did have to enter another one here, but I'll run you through both. And this was like literally as soon as I entered, I closed because I made the thingy, the what was it, the 1500 of the day, right there. Okay, so let's get into it, right? So all these trade recaps are going to be back up. We're going to try and pass as much funding as we can with futures. We're going to try and get some payouts for futures. We are fully focused on futures for the time being. It's also a lot cheaper, and it just makes it a little bit easier on my mental. But also, I have found that the past 2 days have been awful. 3 days now until have been awful. I've just blown so many evals. Like, I think like 3 evals, 4 evals. I say so many, it's not that many, but just by gambling. So we are locked in now. We're back. We're gonna go through it. So coming into the day, what was my bias? So on MNQ, right? I was it wasn't the clearest. Okay, we are still in this discount of this overall swing. If you draw your swing from here to here, we are still in that discount. We've not come into the premium. We have these 2 4-hour fair value gaps residing in the premium. We have this one and we have that small one just there. And so I was leaning more towards the idea that we could trade higher today. Okay, before coming back lower, especially if we're looking at the weekly. We've had, this will be the third week we've had bearish week in such a bullish range. And my idea is to come into here, right? I don't know why that's there. I don't know why. Yeah, my idea is to come into here. Okay. So I was leaning more bullish today, just for the idea that, okay, potentially we've started stalling here. We could start trading up, and this is just discretion, and I think a lot of people are thinking this is just coming into here to then trade lower. But if we look at over at ES, what has ES done the past couple days? We have built up these stack lows. We also have a devil's market down here. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons here to be there we go. We have a devil's mark just there, which is just a flat body low. There's more reason to be bearish, right? Until these lows get swept. I'm going to continue to be bearish until these lows get swept. We have that lows are being swept. We have 3 days worth of lows that I just haven't been swept. We had an inside day yesterday. We swept previous day high today. So it made a lot of sense to start trading lower. So how could we frame that, right? how could we frame that? So we had traded into this 4-hour fair value gap during the, I think it was last night. Yeah, during the Asia session, just before Asia, we traded into this 4-hour fair value gap. Then in Asia, we had this huge move to the downside. Very easy shorts. It was a nice move, right? Down to the downside, creating this new like 15-minute swing, if you like. And then we've traded back into that premium. Now, in this Asian kind of swing, what do we have? We have, let's just bar replay this back to here. We have this beautiful, beautiful little 15-minute gap residing in here. Now, we did inverse that, but when I'm looking at inversions, these tiny closures here, they're not that significant to me at the minute, right? Because like even here, right, we inversed it, but we also tapped this little 30-minute right up here. And so this was like a key kind of marker for me to be bearish coming into the day based off of ES, because as soon as we tap into this 30-minute, we sweep these internal highs right here, right? We sweep these highs, we immediately flip bearish, and this is a much better close for me on an inversion. We close through this 30-minute gap. Now, if we were to come and tap into here and just trade slowly down and not inverse this with one candle, then there was an argument that we could come higher and re-sweep these highs, right? But because of how bearish this was after sweeping these internal highs right here, we swept this, came higher, and then swept this again. And then, you know, immediately flip bearish. It was an immediate flip, inversing this gap. I'm going to be bearish on the day, right? And the draws were just so obvious today. These have to be taken, right? You know, we have, this chair's squeaky as a motherfucker. We have all of these lows just residing over here that, you know, I want to be bearish towards, okay? So that was kind of the idea, right? Now, coming into market open, ES had created like these equal lows right here, okay? Down here. Now, again, this just leads more towards my bearish bias. Now, MNQ wasn't like the cleanest at this moment in time. But what do we have? We have a bunch of LR residing down here. Again, to target, right? We have this LR residing to target, this being my main draw that I want to see MNQ trade towards, and then potentially this draw here and this draw here. And so that was the idea behind today's bias, right? Just starting to be bearish. There's an argument that you do have a ton of built up LR up here. Absolutely, that definitely could seem to be get ran through. But if we, and you know, there's that argument there that, you know, when we do, you know, this definitely could get ran through, especially that we inverse this hourly gap. But if we're looking at the 30-minute, again, what have we tapped into? We've tapped into this 30-minute here. We've swept this little high, we've swept here, and we're starting to disrespect bullish gaps, right? This 30-minute bullish gap, we disrespected it completely, building LR down here. So my bias is leaning very heavily bearish at this point. And you know, if I'm wrong, I'm gonna stay bearish until proven wrong, and I'd be proven wrong if we just traded through this 15-minute, and now I'd start to look for this 4 hour up there. Okay, so that was the idea coming into the day. A bit more of a difficult bias to understand today, because price isn't the clearest. You know, this week has just, these last 2 days have just been chop, and the conditions haven't been great, if I'm being honest. And that has led to a lot of psych issues with myself. But you know, when you build this narrative up, you start and you look at these highs, you look at these sweeps. What are we doing after these sweeps? Are we just remaining bearish, or are we immediately plummeting down? Then, you know, you start to build a narrative. I'm just checking if there was SMT. There might have been SMT. No, there wasn't. Okay, never mind. Tripping out. Right. So that's kind of how I was looking towards the day. Maybe there's SMT here. 9 o'clock. Yeah, you do have this SMT, but when you're bearish and trying away from these gaps, I don't expect that to hold. If I'm being 100% honest. So, market open, what are we doing? We have a 30-minute gap. This chair's really annoying me. It's fucking squeaking like a bitch. We have this 30-minute gap, okay? And then if we look further into it, what do we have? We have a 15-minute gap. So my POI was to trade away from this 15-minute gap. As well as that, we have, you could argue, we have this kind of, I would class the order block here, okay? But I know some people will class it here. So you have that order block. But looking on the 4 hour, okay, we are trading inside of this 4-hour rejection block. And on ES, what we're doing, we have filled the wick, but we are trading inside that 4-hour rejection block. Again, in this 4-hour thingy. So, in this 4-hour, what's the word? 4-hour range, 4-hour gap. That's what I'm looking for. So that was kind of the bias, right? So what do I want to see market open do? Ideal situation, and I did take 2 trades, at 1 break even, and then, well, 3 trades, but 1 break even, then these 2. But what would my ideal scenario be? And it played out today perfectly. We trade higher, market open, we trade higher, we get an inverse, and I take a paddy swing to the downside. That was my ideal scenario. Why did I have an order block there? Is there a reason? Oh, that was for later. Okay, so what do we do? Let's just delete this for a minute. Market opens here, and you see we get this big fill of this fair value gap, and then we immediately close with this rejection. All right, now this is a really nice trade. This is a really nice paddy swing that you can take, and that I did personally take as well. But you have to understand you're going break even fast because you haven't closed. This 3-minute hadn't closed at this point, right? You literally market open, so you have the next 2 minutes where it could reject back up higher. But I'm just looking at structure, right? We've swept these highs. We've had these internal highs sweep. You have this high here. You've tapped into this 15-minute and the 30-minute. ES has created SMT at these highs, right? So this trade for me is beautiful, right? This SMT was beautiful. Let's check it, triple check. I didn't, yeah. Beautiful SMT. This is a nice paddy swing. You can enter here, wherever. Stops to be above there. And you're basically targeting this low with a quick, just below, right? So that was the idea behind this trade. So that was the first trade I took. We inversed all the 30 seconds. I believe I got in on a slight pullback. Yeah, I got in like here. My stop was here. So I wouldn't really want to see price trade higher. My stop was up here, and I was aiming for a 1-to-1, but I fucked my risk up. I risked $1,000 instead of $2,000 on the eval, and so yeah, I would have actually been fine. And then the reason you're also going to break even is you've now swept this. Yes, you haven't swept this low, but you've also swept these lows here. Okay, and again, where we're reacting from this beautiful. We're in this 15-minute. You're in a, you could say it's like a 15-minute order block demand, but it wasn't the cleanest. And then looking at ES, where's ES reacted from the 15-minute inside of Asia again after sweeping these equal lows. So you have to go break even faster. If you didn't go break even, then you would have got stopped out because it makes more sense. I don't normally go break even, but it makes more sense to go break even there. So we have swept most of this LR out. We swept this draw, so now my next draw is this. Now, I remain bearish here. Why? Because looking at ES, SMT is still intact. We've just reswept the high on MNQ. But I want you to pay attention to the rejection that this candle gives, right? So if I play it out one more candle, we get a nice little fucking little, I don't know what you want to call that. But then if we go to the 3-minute, look at this next 3-minute candle. Boom. Look at that. It's just beautiful. You go on the 1-minute. Look at the 1-minute. 1-minute change of state. Yes, you could enter on this 1-minute change of state. But you get this beautiful down close, inversing this 1-minute gap. And you get that 3-minute change of state delivery out of the 15-minute. The 15-minute looked healthy as fuck, over here. Again, there is argument that price would have wanted to trade higher and taken out this LR. That's why probably a lot of people faded this setup. But me, this 3-minute change of state, just look at this fucking candle, right? That when you've inversed this gap here, yeah, it's not even in the manipulation leg. This you could argue is the manipulation leg, so you don't really have to worry about those gaps. But you've inversed this gap here. This is beautiful. So this is textbook. We have an order block up here. Yes, you could wait for the CISD tap. I decided to wait for a tiny pullback, which was here, just there, and that was my entry just there. Now on the 30, so this is where it got really fucking horrible because it is FMC today, so markets were choppy. We had a 30-second gap here, and when I say we just rejected it, like a million times. We rejected it a million times. We then tapped the order block. So I was kind of expecting a reaction from here and for us to fill this wick and go down, but you're on this 3-minute rejection block kind of thing. There's a lot here. It's a bit of an iffy one, right? Because if you're looking at ES, yes, ES traded back down, but again, you are respecting this 15-minute. Sorry, you are respecting this 15-minute. So it's a bit of a weird trade, but I was just so confident in short bias, so confident towards those lows, and so confident because there's Drake that had entered the chat. And so this is where, right, this is really key. I had a mate who took the same trade. Big up, Antonio. This is where stop loss placement becomes really important. He had his stop loss here. Not saying that's a bad place to have the stop loss. Realistically, you wouldn't want to see price trade higher into that range. But I always have my stops around. Well, I didn't have it there because that's a huge stop. I had it like here. I think was it on the body? I don't know. It was like a 1-to-1 or something. So yeah, just on the bodies. I had my stop here. It's quite a big stop. But again, I'm confident in this trade. So what do? We chop around and we trade into this 1-minute gap, which is here. That's why I would never have my stops here because it's in a 1-minute gap, right? So you trade into this 1-minute gap, you get this internal high kind of sweep, and you get this rejection. My break-even point for this trade wasn't this, because I can see price, kind of reject it and create a gap and then trade back. It was this low here. So if you see break-even at this point, and I traded towards a 1-to-1, which was like there. So that was my trade of the day. Beautiful trade, very textbook, very quick and very quick trade in the sense that you had to be able to react quickly today. It was kind of a bit like my eyes were like fucked up when I was trading this, and being honest, I was kind of like all over the place. But we decided to melt. Now I was like $200 away or so, $150 away from the consistency. So I was kind of like, how can I get the consistency? There were two ways. There's this 5-minute continuation short. I wasn't actually looking at the screen. This is perfect. You got nice 30-second LR here. You're in these gaps. You get this beautiful 1-minute change of state delivery. There probably was a 30-second inversion as well. I can't check. Because it's on my trader bait, which won't let me log in. And then again, you're targeting this low. Why is this short good? And why is this a nice continuation short? Because you haven't swept any major low, right? The only low on this 5-minute continuation that you have swept is this one. Yes, you could argue it's a big low. Yes, it is. But the first 5-minute continuation short that I'd expect to fail is after we sweep these, not after we tap into this one. All right, because I tap into this leg, because they're not really major lows, right? They're not screaming out major low. This is a major low, Asia low. This is a major low as well. So this previous day low. So once we come into this 5-minute, you get a 1-minute change of state. This is perfect to take a short on. Again, I maybe should have logged into another account and taken this. I just wasn't paying attention. It played out beautifully, right? This was my next short. We had another 5-minute continuation. Again, why is this continuation valid? I won't say it's the most valid trade. I literally needed a little bit, but we still had this low down here. Put on the daily. This low down here intact to go for. The devil's marker. And so I kind of was like, okay, this is okay to continue to take. It's not the best setup in the world. Literally needed, I think it was $150. So I took very little risk. And I did have a decent... This is the short that I would expect to fail. But the fact that this low was still here, I mean, I wouldn't, I'd still expect price to take it, to be honest. Not just sweeping Asia low, reversing this low has got to be taken at some point. So today makes sense. With it being FOMC later, I wouldn't expect that draw to stay intact. We have all this LRL. I literally waited for a beautiful 30-second thingy, and we had a 1-minute change of delivery. I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to quickly take this. Took it, obviously melted further. And so that leaves us with the 2 trades, the 3 trades of the day, 1 break even and then 1 win. I won't really class that as a trade. And now it looks like we are just melting towards that really fair value gap. So if I was smart, I'd let FOMC play out, maybe leave PM session. Price could definitely tap into here, and we can get a huge reaction. Back up, rebalancing this price action, maybe trading back to all-time highs. I mean, if we look at the daily, we have so much liquidity up here. Looking at ES, we did take the devil's market, which was fine. So yeah, where would I expect ES to trade towards now? Potentially this low if we continue bearish. Yeah, it makes the most sense, to be honest. So we shall see. We shall see. We shall see. Where's my fucking? Let's just duo. There we go. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of how I'd expect price to go for FOMC. Again, I mean, we could be looking at, depends how this week goes off. ES could definitely shift bearish on the weekly. If you take that low out, we are definitely bearish on the daily. So yeah, I don't see no reason why this low shouldn't be taken. MNQ, very bearish. But we got to take into account now, we are coming into that discount level and in a weekly for value gap. Although, wouldn't be surprised if these ones get filled. Maybe this one, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if this big one got filled. So we shall see. That is a trade recap of the day. Quite a long one. A little bit informative. A little bit more of a sticky bias today, to be honest. But yeah, cool. Stay safe, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.